Let's start with Utah, Dan.
Okay.
The Utah Utes, formerly of the Pac-12. Are you used to the fact yet that they're in the Big 12?
I'm not used to any of this. I see Utah in a preview magazine. I see Utah spoken about on some sort of TV show or video on YouTube or something. And I'm like, oh man, how's Oregon going to handle this Utah defense? This is real tough. We got a first-year starting quarterback and Dante Moore to think about. I'm like, oh, no, I guess they're not going to Rice Eccles anymore, huh? Every time I see any of these teams, I think about it within the context of what does this mean for different West Coast matchups or Oregon games, and I'm thrown. I'm old and thrown.
The only one that I can sort of tolerate is Colorado because they were previously.
They were.
In this conference.
But there were a lot of interesting, well, okay, I shouldn't say there were a lot of interesting Pac-12 games involving Colorado. There were a lot of huge performances against Colorado from West Coast teams over the years. So I got used to the Buffaloes out west.
I think that's fair. So look, go back, listen to part 2 where we covered the other 8 teams in the Big 12. Go back and listen to part 1 where we talked through what we call the tiers of the kingdom and tried to group them accordingly.
Hey, real quick, it'd be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel down below. It really helps us out.
Utah was one of those teams that for me was in the top tier, which had 6 teams. For you, it was on the cusp. It was 1 tier down. So I think at least relative to the field and where you and I ranked Utah, pretty close. The points of separation with our tiers varied a little bit, but Utah was a 5-7 team a year ago. Their over-under this year is 7.5. For my money, one of the more interesting teams in the conference and probably the country.
Sure.
If I'm being real with you, because this is a program coming off of its first losing season in over a decade. We had wondered for a while if Kyle Whittingham might just pack it in, if the game had passed him by. You know, we've seen this happen with coaches that have been around for a while, but alas, he is back. And I think provided everybody can stay healthy, and that's a big if, provided there is not a big lingering health issue that clouds the season, I really like this roster. I really like what he's got here, Dan. I think I'm probably a little bit higher on Utah than you are, but again, we both kind of have them in the same range. So what stuck out to you when you're going through and looking at the Utes?
That if they're similar this year, that they might be altitude Iowa who can't finish. I mean, you're talking about the quarterback injuries, a longtime successful defensive coordinator, a terrific ability to develop linemen and defensive players, but an inability to figure things out on offense and yet still win a ton. They are the Big 12's Iowa. And I don't know who that is insulting to, because Iowa actually did take a step forward on offense last year.
They did.
But yeah, that's now becoming the annual question with Utah. And we've had Cam Rising injuries, and we've had, this Utah program win conference championships, but at the same time, or compete for conference championships previously. At the same time, we have a similar question this year of like, Utah should have a pretty incredible defense this year. They return enough and bring in enough, and their starting pieces at all 3 levels are interesting or have star power potential to the point where they should win a bunch of games. Utah, these last couple years, though, especially last year, they've also been a study in winning as a skill that Utah didn't necessarily have, largely because of injury, but also they were in those games. They were losing game 17-13 or 21-20 or something like that they just didn't have the juice to finish, or the players to finish, or the creativity to finish, or didn't get the breaks to finish, that they played in so many close games, but weren't, the defense gave them a chance in those close games, but weren't able to take that one extra step. That the big question now is this a formula that can win you 9 games in 2025?
Well, first things first on the defense. I'm with you. I like the defense too.
Yeah.
I don't think they're quite as deep, though. And I think that's especially true along the defensive line, where Utah has historically been really solid.
Mm-hmm.
And I only bring this up because they've had so many injury issues. And I don't know the first thing about how you solve a problem like that. But I wish there were a little bit more depth, especially up front on defense, because if that goes down, I think that causes an issue. I think generally speaking, though, you're right. I like where the defense is at. I'm actually really high in this offense. Really high in this offense. And I understand where you're coming from because, frankly, it's been a minute since the Utah or did I say Utah or Iowa? You've got me in my own head
You
now.
said Utah, but you're in your own head. Continue.
It's been a minute since the Utah offense was something to be excited about. Obviously, they were handcuffed by the Cam Rising thing for the last couple of years.
Yes.
The best of whom was really good when he could stay healthy. He just never was.
Yeah.
So this offseason, what they did, Andy Ludwig retired. They did some shopping down in New Mexico, Dan. They got themselves a new offensive coordinator in Jason Beck, a new quarterback in Devin Dampier. Kyle Whittingham is on record saying that he's going to give Jason Beck complete autonomy to run the offense. So if we are to believe that, this is a system that looks a lot like a spread, has some RPO stuff mixed in there. Jason Beck likes to run the ball. That's been a staple, as we know, of good Utah offenses. So shouldn't feel that different, but I think you take that in tandem with what should be a pretty good offensive line, one of the better units in the country. All of that type of thing, especially when you've got the line up front, seems to be a bit of a catalyst for maybe getting this off the ground in a hurry or quicker than expected. So I just think it makes so much more possible when you've got that line play and you're trying to change some stuff elsewhere. There's still a lot that's unproven. The other thing that I like about this setup is, though it is a new Utah quarterback, Devin Dampier ran this system with Jason Beck last year, and he had a lot of success.
Correct.
He threw for 2,700 yards. He ran for over 1,100, 31 total touchdowns. Go back and listen to the episode we did a couple weeks back with our friend Tim Murray from VSiN, who was talking this guy up as a Heisman dark horse. I'm not sure I'm willing to go that far.
Or how you might view a dark horse in a Heisman race. Yeah. But he liked him. Yeah.
He is more of the Tommy Castellanos cloth.
Okay.
In that he's 5'10", 5'11", but dude's an athlete, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Passing is inconsistent,
But is that a real need for a quarterback, somebody who can throw consistently well? Is that something that you would love to have from your quarterbacks, or is it just more about fun? Is that who you are as a person, Ty? I don't know. We've only been doing this show for 17 years.
I would prefer the ratio be better than 12-12.
Yeah, it was
what it was last year.
Mistake prone in a much smaller conference in the Mountain West. Okay.
I like that they got Wayshawn Parker from Wazoo.
Same.
Also, Tobias Merriweather is now on his third team. Started with Notre Dame, went to Cal. Now he's at Utah. Maybe he'll pop at Utah.
Yep.
Who knows?
Maybe this receiver will work out at Utah, is how a lot of different sentences have started and not really finished in a great way. Continue.
I just think there's reason for optimism.
Okay.
There's reason for optimism. I like the fact that they're trying something new with a coordinator who seems very much on the rise.
Definitely.
And I like Devin Dampier from what I've seen. So I'm willing to remain optimistic until proven otherwise. The burning question for me is how they're going to hold up against the schedule, because it's a really tough slate. They get most of the top teams in the conference. The three big ones against Texas Tech, Arizona State, and Kansas State are spread out. They're all at home, which is good. Generally, I feel really good about Utah. And as I said on, I guess, our part one, aggressively over on the 7.5 for the Utes. I'm feeling pretty good about what I'm seeing here.
I hope so. I really do hope so, because if you look at this conference, how many teams do something as well as Utah seems like they'll play defense or has recently played defense?
Not many.
Not many.
No.
If any. I mean, maybe ASU moving the ball. Last year, Utah finished with the number 19 defense in the country per points per drive, minus garbage time. ASU was 12th, TCU 17th offensively. But this was not a conference. Basically, after maybe the BYU defense last year, that offered much in the way of a nationally impressive defense.
No.
So, yeah, Utah being sort of alone on that island in the conference, I think is a positive that they are able to do something that not many teams, it seems, have the ceiling to do. So I like Utah here. What'd you say, 7.5?
7.5 is what I got.
Schedule-wise, they're opening what? In Pasadena at UCLA. They have Texas Tech on here. They have ASU, but ASU's at home and Texas Tech is at home.
All those big games are at home, which I like.
The road splits. It's a little trickier at the end at Baylor, at Kansas, and that Kansas is a week after the Kansas State game. It's a tough end to the season, it seems. I don't know. I think 7-5, 8-4. The number is perfect, so I'm being extremely boring here. I don't feel crazy confident in the over in this moment. Yes, I'm going to say because of coaching, because of consistency behind the defense, I'm going to say they can go 8-4. So I'll take the over barely.